So when I'm on stage, I usually don't talk. I usually play an instrument, and this is really out of my comfort zone. So thank you for bearing with me. Has anybody ever had a dream, sleeping dream that has come true? Anybody? No? Yeah? Okay. Maybe a deja vu type thing where you find yourself in a situation you know have been there before?
Yeah.
I see a couple of nods. Okay. Yeah. Well, this is my true story of something like that. When I was probably 12, I had the first incident of, we'll call it deja vu. It's like, oh, I've been here before. What is this? Oh, that's crazy. Okay, moving on. Well, when I was 16, I had a very interesting situation with that, with dreams coming true. And it started off by, I'm going to describe the dream for you. In my mind, I focused on this golden cross in the back of the room. And as my vision came back from that golden cross, I saw more. It was a white wall, more golden crosses on it. Keep coming back, and you see these choir pews. And you keep coming back from that, and you see the blue carpet underneath the pews. And you keep coming back from that, and you realize the shape of the room is a circle. And you keep coming back from that, and you see these green plants that are set up nicely in front of the choir pews. And you keep coming back from that, and I see this painting of a very dear friend of mine. And in my mind, I think, well, that's strange. Like, why is this painting right there? And why are we in this church? And you look at it, and it doesn't make sense. And in the dream, it doesn't make sense. And I sit there and I think about it. And his dad's a painter, so that makes sense to me. That's the only thing that makes sense. Like, oh, his dad made that painting. Okay. We keep coming back, and as I stay in the dream longer, I realize it's his memorial service. And I think, well, that's strange. Like, another thing doesn't make sense. We grew up in the same church together. Why would he have a memorial service in this church? Why wouldn't it be in our church? And it just doesn't make sense. So then I wake up and go to class that day, and a couple of my classmates, I was a junior in high school, a couple of them talking about the weird dreams they had last night. I was like, yeah, I had one too. My friend from Virginia, this is when I lived in Chicago, but when I lived in Virginia, this is a friend that I made. I said, my friend died in my dream last night. I was at his memorial service. And they're like, oh, that's kind of strange. I'm like, I know, it was really weird. What do you do with that? So, in my mind, I said, well, okay, I'm going to call him. I'm going to get back in touch with him. I haven't talked to him in 3 years, haven't seen him in 3 years. I'm going to give him a call. Well, I forgot. My pride got in the way when I remembered. And about a month later, I received a phone call about this friend of mine, Joseph. I hope I'm not freaking y'all out right now. But this really is true. And Joseph and I had a similar interest, which was Taekwondo. And he was my inspiration to be started in Taekwondo. And this weekend, I was gone on a black belt retreat weekend where we would go in the woods and practice Taekwondo and have a lot of fun together and camp out in a cabin. And I got back from that retreat and found out that Joseph had died while I was gone, out there in the woods, practicing this thing that we love together. And I didn't remember right away that I had had this dream a month earlier. And as we go to Virginia and make this pilgrimage to go be with our friends who we love dearly and to be with them in their loss of their son, I still don't remember it, but it's this very intense situation. And we come to this, or we get to their home, and they're telling us about, you know, everything that's going on there, and everybody's coming around from that church community. They were still involved in this church community, and that we had all been in together. Well, we get to his memorial service, and I walk in the doors of this church that's across the street from our church because they anticipated too many people to be at his memorial service to be held in our church. So they went across the street. And there's these golden crosses on the back walls, and there's this blue carpet, and there's this foliage, and there's this portrait that I could have never seen before that his dad had painted of his son. And in that moment, I realized, holy shit, this is kind of crazy. I'm 16 years old, living in the suburbs of Chicago with no explanation or anything for anything like that to possibly be happening. It doesn't work in that mindset. There's not space for it, there's not room for it. And unless you explain it away some biblical way, which no one still could explain it away. So you take that, and you take that bit of yourself that's very confusing and very... What do you do when you have dreams about a friend passing away, and it happens? And what do you do when you have dreams about showing up at places, and then you show up at them? And how does it fit into our mindset of this is how the world works? Who was it out there that was talking about that? Yeah, very confusing as a 16-year-old to try and fall asleep after that, and to try and be comfortable with my dreams after that. And to become, that was 10 years ago, I'm 26 now, to become comfortable with this part of me that's inside of me is not necessarily, dreams are not the only part of me that I have to become comfortable with. When you find those things that are inside of you that you just don't know how they fit, you don't know how it works, but yet it seems as if it's a truth inside of you that comes out regardless if you want it to or not, if you're comfortable or not, if people are going to accept it or not. And so part of my journey in the past 10 years has been to learn how to accept those things. They're, however you want to describe them, they're crazy, but in that particular instance in my dreams, sometimes they're a little bit different, and learning to not be afraid of that, and learning to be okay with the fact that that's a part of me, and that's a part of my truth, and that's a part of my story. And it's okay not to have an explanation for it. And it's okay for it to blow my world a little bit. And it's okay for other people to not understand it. But to start being able to accept it and to love it, even though it brings sometimes destruction, sometimes very cool situations. And then the thought of having this truth inside of you that you don't know if you manifest or not, but it's there. Maybe you just tap into it somewhere else. But it's there. And there's this opportunity to tap into that's there. That sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, sometimes I get too busy, and sometimes I remember that opportunity's there, and I'm not as connected to it right now, but I want to be more connected. And remembering that when you slow down, it's not just about slowing down, but when I let myself be connected, it is a very beautiful thing, even if it doesn't always seem that way. And it's a very mysterious and unexplainable thing. And so that is how I have been working through becoming comfortable with those true spots inside of me. And it's still working. But that's a little bit of my story.